The Eastern Ethiopians. The historical disputes regarding the origins of scientific achievements in Chaldea, India, and Egypt can be harmonized by the idea that these regions may have been inhabited by a shared ancestral group, one that took precedence in the realms of trade, culture, and innovation in the ancient world. Josiah Conder. The Indus Valley civilization thrived across the territories of present-day Pakistan, India, and Afghanistan. At its zenith, this civilization covered a triangular area of about 1,000 miles per side, ranking as one of the largest ancient civilizations globally. Some of its remarkable features include the construction of meticulously planned cities aligned with the cardinal directions, organized in complex grid patterns, an impressive focus on water management, leading to the development of extensive hydraulic infrastructures including drains, wells, sump pits, sewers, gutters, and public bathing facilities with flushing toilets. The creation of a distinct written script that remains undeciphered to this day. Advanced precision in measurements of length, mass, and time, being pioneers in establishing a binary system of standardized weights and measures, as well as rulers. The application of this binary measurement system in architectural elements, such as brick dimensions. A notable era of peace, with no evidence of military weapons or defensive structures. Efficient municipal governance characterized by a minimal gap between rulers and citizens, devoid of palatial or fortress-like power centers. The early adoption of the wheel for transportation and the construction of one of the first boat docks in Lothal, along with an early compass. Mastery in metallurgy, including the use of curved saws and twisted drills. A vast trade network, exemplified by the export of cotton to Mesopotamia, Egypt, and East Africa over 4,000 years ago. The most prominent cities of the Indus Valley civilization include Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and Lothal. Mohenjo-Daro, initially settled around 3,500 BC, saw the construction of a grand urban center by 2,500 BC, predominantly built from kiln-fired bricks. The city's layout featured a grid of intersecting streets, reminiscent of modern Washington, D.C. The city consisted of 12 main streets, with 11 designated for residential areas, while the 12th housed the citadel, the center of governance for the elite. Public baths, recreational spaces, and communal plazas were also integrated into the urban design. Harappa, situated approximately 400 miles away, mirrored this architectural style. These cities boasted sophisticated sewage systems that included manhole covers. Each block had accessible public restrooms, with sewers spacious enough to walk through, though the paved streets were likely the preferred route. They also featured flushing toilets connected to enclosed drainage systems made of clay pipes that led to external sewers via open brick gutters. Who were the creators of these cities? According to Vidya Prakash Tyagi, the early Africoid inhabitants of India, known later as Negritos, were succeeded by the Vedoid Australoid populations. These groups represented the majority during India's Neolithic period. The Vedoid people were distinguished by slender physiques, dark skin, wavy hair, broad flat noses and prominent lips. They possessed long heads with low foreheads and pronounced brow ridges, thick jaws, large teeth and small chins. The Australoid populations laid the groundwork for Indian civilization, cultivating rice and vegetables and producing sugar from sugarcane. Their languages are still present in central and eastern India today. This racial group spans from Iberia to India, with features that appear in late Natufian remains in Palestine, suggesting a differentiation that occurred in the southern steppes of North Africa and Asia, spreading in both directions. Research indicates that human remains from Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were proto-Australoid, resembling the skulls of the Veda people still found in India's forested areas. Narrator, V.O. The Veda Australoids were apparently followed by the Dravidian peoples, who are best represented in the purest form in the southern Indian jungles, including the Kota, Badaga, and Kurumba communities of the Nilgiri Mountains. They exhibit narrow noses and are generally taller than many of the so-called Dravidians. Narrator, V.O. Due to their coarse, wavy hair and narrow noses, Thomas Huxley linked these black-skinned peoples to the ancient Egyptians, who shared similar traits. Taylor further notes, Narrator, V.O. It seems probable, as Ruggeri suggests, that the Dravidian language was imposed on Aboriginal Veda types by relatively few invaders of the Kurumba type. These latter were in many ways akin to the Ethiopians of Eastern Africa. It appears likely that the remarkable cultures recently uncovered along the Indus at Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, etc., were developed around 3000 BC by peoples belonging to this Ethiopian or Mediterranean race, akin to today's Kurumbas. These cities maintained communication with Sumeria, and in many respects their culture surpassed that of contemporary Egyptian civilization. Narrator or VO. In essence, these were the Anu people who established the first urban civilizations across Asia. Later in this chapter we will delve into the Dravidian languages they introduced. Connections between Mesopotamia and the Indus Valley. Why did the inhabitants of the Indus Valley bear a striking resemblance to those from ancient Mesopotamia? During a symposium on Dravidian civilization, Professor of Asian Studies Andrei F. Sjoberg suggested, it could be argued that Eastern Africa, the Near East, Iran, and parts of India formed a unified cultural pool from the Neolithic period until the dawn of the Christian era, a region where ideas and goods circulated freely. There is substantial archaeological evidence of maritime interactions during the first 3 millennia BC, and possibly earlier, between the western coast of India and regions such as Iran, Mesopotamia, the Eastern Mediterranean, East Africa, Egypt, and parts of Arabia. This explains the early trade connections between the Indus Valley and the Near East. Mesopotamian texts reference trade with at least 2 maritime civilizations, Makan and Meluha, located near the Indus Valley. According to Omar Khan's educational platform, Harappa.com, ancient Mesopotamian texts mention trade with at least 2 seafaring nations, Magan and Meluha, situated near South Asia during the 3rd millennium BC. This trade was executed with financial sophistication, involving quantities that could reach tons of copper. The Mesopotamians referred to Meluha as a land of exotic goods. Numerous artifacts produced in the Indus region have been discovered at sites in Mesopotamia. The pictographic script of the Indus Valley indicates long-distance connections. The as-yet undeciphered script of Rapa Nui, Easter Island, bears a remarkable resemblance to that found in Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, as does the undeciphered script from ancient Elam in the Near East. This suggests that the Anu people had a far-reaching influence. India as black. Drusilla Dungy Houston asserts that the name India means black, and Condor believes it was initially used to designate the homeland of the Asiatic Ethiopians. Initially, I struggled to corroborate this claim by locating the primary source, as I always seek to verify secondary references. However, upon further investigation, I discovered that Houston was referring to Josiah Condor, not Condor, who indeed made such a declaration. Condor elaborated that the ancient Kushite Empire extended throughout India, Persia, Arabia, and Ethiopia, contributing significantly to advancements in all these regions. Some tribes of this Kushite lineage were among the first navigators. The invention of writing likely originated with them, driven by the necessity for communication stemming from expanded commerce, and the first astronomers were probably these intrepid navigators of the southern waters. The competing assertions from Chaldea, India, and Egypt regarding the origins of scientific inquiry can be reconciled by assuming that they were inhabited by a common race that took the lead in commerce, civilization, and the arts. Houston describes this Kushite civilization as one of the most desirable places to live. Villagers collaborated voluntarily to construct moats, halls, and rest areas. They employed similar methods in building reservoirs, repairing roads, and creating parks. There were no landlords or impoverished individuals. Crime was minimal or non-existent. The people lived with open doors and regarded it as degrading to hire others. These characteristics starkly contrast with the nature of the Indo-European races that populated Western Europe, as well as with the Turanian or Semitic nature that evolved in Asia. Instead, they reflect the nature of Ethiopians, from which the communal life foundation was laid that influenced early societies in Southern Europe, early Chaldea, and beyond, leading to the democratic ideals we recognize today. Through this cooperative framework, evident in the communal districts of India, which cannot function optimally due to the spirit of exploitation and foreign dominance, the Kushite race constructed the magnificent temples, palaces, and monumental engineering works of the past that continue to astonish modern observers. The achievements of Babylonia, Egypt, and Ethiopia were predicated on this communal system. It is essential to evaluate this seemingly impossible system for its value, as it was through their collective strength that they maintained global dominance for millennia. Indus Kush. Francis Wilford, an expert in Hindu mythology, noted that Sanskrit texts describe the extensive territories of the ancient Kushite Empire, including references to interactions with ancient Egypt. There are even accounts of migrations from the Upper Nile into India, signifying an early wave of settlement. The Sanskrit Puranas categorized the known world into 7 dvipas, or divisions. Sanchadvipa referred to Africa broadly, while Kuspadvipa denoted the land of Kush, which extended westward from the Nile Valley into the Mediterranean and eastward into India. This assertion is corroborated by Baldwin's Prehistoric Nations. The ancient Sanskrit geographers applied the term Kushadvipa to regions that closely align with what the ancient Greeks described as Ethiopia. It encompassed Arabia, Asia Minor, Syria from the Nile's mouths, Armenia, territories along the Euphrates and Tigris, a significant portion of the area north of the Persian Gulf, and a vast expanse in Africa. In antiquity, it was the most affluent, densely populated, and enlightened region of the world. Kushadvipa was divided into 2 parts. Similarly, the Greeks described Ethiopia as having 2 divisions, one Asiatic and another African. All narratives concur that this African Kushadvipa emerged from migrations originating in Arabia and neighboring regions, extending not just northward, but also down the southeast coast of Africa, even reaching deep into the interior, including the Satnagiri, or the Mountains of the Moon, and the lake regions near the Nile's sources. This may explain the region's name, Indus Kush. Ethiopians in India? Following the initial Africoid and Australoid settlers in India, Thomas Griffith Taylor identifies a population in Madras, characterized by prognathism and receding foreheads, resembling Negro features more than those of the Veda. These groups represent another phase of black immigration into India. These individuals are referred to as the Kushites of India by Baldwin, Rawlinson, and Drusilla Dungy Houston. Houston posits, Kushites arriving in India during primitive times likely encountered Aboriginal Malays. Rather than exterminating them, they chose to engage, civilize, and partially assimilate them, a practice typical of Ethiopians across their vast territories. John Bloch Friedman highlights in The Monstrous Races in Medieval Art and Thought that the ancient Greek historian Pliny often conflated Ethiopia and India due to the similarities among their peoples. Pliny followed a tradition as ancient as Homer, who referred to 2 races of Aethiopes, meaning burnt faces, in popular mythology. Ctesias even labeled Indians as Ethiopians, a mix-up that persisted in both Greek and Latin writings through the Christian era. For instance, Sidonius described an Indian like the Ethiopians in hue, while the author of the Greek Barlaam and Iosaphat claimed his story came from the inner lands of the Ethiopians, referred to as the land of Indians. This confusion implies that Ethiopia, in this narrative, should be interpreted as a broad literary term rather than a specific geographical location. Both J.H. Hutton and B.S. Guha documented a wave of non-white individuals following the Australoid influx, identifiable with the Anu people. Many anthropologists classify these individuals as Mediterranean. Hutton differentiates between early Mediterraneans and advanced Mediterraneans. The early Mediterraneans reached South India, where their descendants are still present in Karnataka and Tamil Nadu, characterized by medium stature, dark to black complexions, and slight builds. The advanced Mediterraneans are the early Dravidian peoples associated with the Indus Valley civilization, who were pre-Aryan and mingled with the Aryans. They tended to be taller and fairer than the early Mediterraneans, spreading across Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, and Bihar. Guha posited that these populations arrived in India in successive waves from the Mediterranean region. He identified 3 subgroupings of Mediterraneans: A, the Paleo-Mediterranean, B, the Mediterranean, and C, the Oriental or Mongoloid type. The establishment of urban civilization marks the period when anthropologists like Guha and Hutton note the influx of a group they term Aryans. In summary, Australoid, Africoid, and Paleo-Mongoloid peoples contributed to the black population responsible for the construction of the ancient Indus Valley cities of Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. They also played a significant role in the major advancements of the ancient Near East. Ultimately, these diverse groups would collectively form the rich tapestry of indigenous populations found in India today. Bonus insights: toilets and sewage systems were also present in ancient Egypt. One of the pharaohs initiated the construction of a city now known as Amarna, where urban planners recognized the importance of cleanliness. Amarna, like other Egyptian cities, had toilets and sewers to manage waste, with soap being produced for personal hygiene and fragrances popular to mask body odor. A natron solution was used to repel insects, marking Amarna as one of the earliest planned garden cities. Bonus insights: Greek historian Diodorus Siculus described the legendary ancestor god Osiris, continuing his journey from the Nile Valley to establish civilizations in Asia, including India. Osiris reportedly traversed Arabia bordering the Red Sea, reaching as far as India and the inhabited coasts. He established numerous cities in India, one named Nisa, as a tribute to Nisa in Egypt, where he was raised. At this Nisa, he is said to have planted ivy, which now only grows in that specific region of India, alongside leaving many other signs of his presence that led local inhabitants to believe he was born in India. Osiris, who symbolizes the Anu people, departed Nubia to found Anu civilization in Egypt, Arabia, and then India. A bonus insights. In 1870, British anatomist Thomas Huxley noted that many Egyptians did not possess woolly hair, suggesting a connection to the same wavy-haired black individuals found throughout ancient India. Huxley stated, "Although the Egyptian has been significantly modified by civilization, likely due to mixing, he still retains the dark skin, black silky wavy hair, long skull, fleshy lips and broader nose, which characterized his ancestors and positioned him closer to the Australian and the Dasu of India than to any other human form."